Hey, what's good, y'all? It's your boy DJ Fanatic Beats, content contributor for Liveoffbeats.com. If you'd like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at DJ Fanatic Beats or Instagram as well. It sounds for producers. DJ Fanatic is spelled P-H-A-N-A-T-I-C. So, today's video is really quick. I'm just going to show you an awesome thing to help you, basically help your beats, help your music sound a lot better. Like just quality wise, a lot more professional, because I'm hearing a lot of distorted beats, just beats that just sound like somebody threw it in a trash can, shook it up and hit play. I don't know, stuff just sounds distorted. 808 just sounds crazy. You know, the snare is just super loud. You got basically your dynamic range is so large that you're missing everything. So anyway, this is to polish your music, to make you sound a lot better, a lot more professional, so artists can take you seriously, as well as labels, A&Rs, managers, etc. This should take your music to the next level, and it's a very simple trick. So let me show you. What I'm talking about is dynamic range. So if you don't know what dynamic range is, definitely go YouTube it, or check on some videos of it. Read up on it, get some books or whatever. Dynamic range is extremely important when it comes to sound, and of course, photo, like light or whatever. But we're talking about audio, sound source, sound signal. So I picked up something really quick to show you, just kind of give you a definition of what dynamic range is. So check it out. All right, dynamic range. Right here, dynamic range, abbreviated DR or DNR, is the ratio between the largest and smallest values of a changeable quantity, such as signals like sound and light. Dynamic range is the difference between the smallest and largest usable signal through a transmission or process chain or storage medium. So basically, we're talking about sound, the quietest part and the loudest part. And I also got this image here to give you like a visual reference of it. So check it out. Let's say this is your beat, and this particular beat has a pretty large dynamic range from the loudest point, high volume, more air pressure, to the lowest point, basically the quietest part of your beat, the low volume, less air pressure, is from this here to the smallest area here is your dynamic range. Now that's a pretty large dynamic range, and over here on the right, these are your decibel levels, which is loudness. Decibel, I believe that was the guy that founded some type of measurement to measure sound. I think that was his last name, if I'm not mistaken. It was years ago, but you can also look that up too, so if you're interested in that type of history. So basically, the loudest to the smallest point is your dynamic range, and what we're doing is lowering your dynamic range, basically taking this low point and making it almost as loud as this high point. So that way is a lot more even, and all the low points in your music is even with the loud points. Now, for example, there's a few different genres of music where, like, classical music has a huge dynamic range. There's like really loud thunderous timpani drums or crashes, or just really strong 100 violin ensembles with violas, all that playing really loud. And then there's these really quiet solo parts, and then there's like tremolo strings or little plucks here and there, then it gets loud again. So that's a large dynamic range. For pop music and urban music, basically whatever you hear on the radio, a lot of it has low dynamic range because it's been compressed or limited or maximized somehow. So I'm going to show you that in this project that I did. All right, so back in FL Studio. So you got a beat or whatever. This is a project that I did. I'll play it. Check it out. you get the idea. I just wanted to play it for you so you can hear what I did. So once you got all your sounds or whatever, a quick way to do this is to, highlight all your tracks and then just lower them. Lower them a significant amount. I don't want to change this just yet, but usually you start up either at default level or all the way up, and all your sounds are just really loud. So by lowering them gives it more headroom, and headroom is basically space for me to compress it or limit it, and it makes your dynamic range shorter. It's like squishing it, taking the loudest point and the lowest point and making them more even. And this is powerful stuff, because what it does, it makes your music sound a lot more professional instead of having certain sounds stick out and your 808s just blasting like crazy and is drowning all the nuances that you did with your beat. All these intricate things that you did is being drowned out by lower frequencies, and low frequencies is a lot of energy. It just takes power. And if you notice, like when you have a subwoofer in a car or in a club, or DJs such as myself, and you have subwoofers, it takes power to run those low frequencies because it's the most present. So you got to kind of balance your dynamic range. So basically the first thing you want to do is, after you make your whole beat or whatever as loud as you want, and all these are at default level or all the way up here, just highlight all of them and lower them down as much as possible, where you have, just a little bit of peaks. So let me see where this is at. So I could have went lower. This is about halfway, so I could have went lower with this. But anyway, then we're on the master track here. My sequence is Neutron 2, Ozone 8, and then I used the new tonal balance to even get more intricate about it. But I'm not gonna confuse you. You can use Fruity Limiter. You can use whatever's in your program, any type of limiter, maximizer, whatever. Every tool has a specific sound and also specific things that it does. So make sure you learn about them. I can't stress that enough. Learn about what you bought or what you have, because the more you know about that plugin, the more of a beast you'll be as a producer. So on Ozone 8, it's a suite of different mastering plugins, and at the end of the chain is the maximizer. So what that is doing, notice you got your ceiling here and your threshold. So when I hit play, the blue is what's being compressed and the white is the signal. And notice the blue going down here. This is the compressed amount showing you here, and the white is the signal going in. And also what it's doing is basically shortening or lowering the dynamic range. Like I said before, it's taking a quiet part and raising up to the loud part, and that's very important for balance. So I'm not going to get into all this other stuff I did. If you notice the RMS meter or dB meter, there's tons of different things to measure the output of sound, but just doing these little steps definitely makes your music hit harder, and it just sounds a lot more cohesive. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm gonna hit play again and take a look at these peak levels. Now, if you look at the RMS on the input, this is the input and this is the output. The input level is really low and the output is really loud because of this compression that I'm using in the maximizer. And now I'm going to show you how loud it is without the plugin. Without, and without Neutron 2. I don't want to get into the advanced total balance control, but I also pulled up the Insight, because you can look at visually, the loudness of it too. You got your short-term loudness integrated. I mean, you can get really deep with it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Is after you make your beat, you lower your volumes at least halfway. Sometimes you can go a little lower without losing the sound or whatever, and then you slap whatever mastering tools you want on it, or tools that you want on the master chain, and then make sure you have your maximizer last and limiter. I don't want to get into mixing, but definitely wanted to speak about dynamic range, and definitely read up on it, watch videos on it, learn about this stuff, because you don't want to just make a beat and then just put it out there and it doesn't sound good. I mean, it may be produced well, but you also gotta consider sound quality. You can always hire an engineer or use online services, but the more the more powerful you are as a producer, because you can kind of put on an engineer hat and make it taste the way you want it to taste, so to speak. So definitely keep that in mind. So that's a little trick. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully it makes your music sound a lot better. Some beats do sound better doing this technique. I tried it almost on all of them. I haven't missed one yet. Sometimes you don't want to get too low where you lose one of the sounds or whatever, so at least halfway is fine, and experiment with it. See what makes your stuff sound that much better. Dynamic range is very important stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. So again, it's DJ Fanatic Beats, content contributor for Liveoffbeats.com. Again, you can follow me at Instagram on DJ Fanatic Beats, or Sounds for Producers on Instagram as well. And make sure you learn about stuff like this and learn about your mastering chain, and also keep dynamic range in mind when you're mastering, and not just not even mastering a beat, just releasing it, because this finishing step right here at the end definitely sets you apart from the novice or beginner producer. You want to take it up a notch. So I'll catch you next time. Peace, y'all.